the record. There goes the encoder. There goes hiding me. And you are good to go.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of Tales from the Barside. I'm your host, Remy, along with my lovely co-host, Lauren.
Hi, guys.
And my good buddy, Jeremy, is joining us tonight. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Seems so weird to call you that. I've called you Fester for years.
I was waiting for you to call me Fester. I'm like, who's Jeremy?
I am. I'm going to call you Fester. Who is Jeremy? We don't know.
Nobody.
Anyways, like lots of crazy stuff going on in the world. We figured everybody could use a little break and a little levity from that. And so hopefully you're all having a nice cold beverage with us. And we're going to sit back and tell some fun tales from the Barside. Fess, you were in the service industry for a long, long time.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, many, many years. You've moved on since. Got out of the game. Got out of the hustle. Got out of the rat race. Do you miss it?
You know, some aspects I do miss it. I think the thing I miss the most is the deep friendships and relationships I've created over the years, and you being one of them, my friend.
For sure, buddy.
You have, stayed in touch and stayed friends for well over 15 years almost.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I do miss. I certainly don't miss
the Karens.
Well, not even the Karens so much. The customers didn't bother me the most, but the thing I hated the most was just like the hours sucked, the pay sucked, depending on what position you held there, which I held many hats. But that's the thing I think that sucked the most. It's just you were always trying to play catch up. Felt like you never felt like you were ahead. So, but I think everybody in their lives should be a server or a bartender or anything like that in their life. They really should. You'll have a different take on what those people go through.
Well, and it makes going out to eat and drink a whole different experience once you've done it yourself. Yeah. And we've talked about that on this show a lot. It's like, if you don't know what it's like and you come in and you're bitching and complaining and you're like, that waiter forgot my water or that bartender forgot my drink order, it's like, you've obviously never done it before.
Right.
Just give them a break. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's, if their fun got 86th when they walked in to their shift. How
many times I used to say that? 86 fun.
Yeah, we're fun on this on the night. Not happening.
Abandon all hope ye who enter these hallowed halls.
Oh, I got good stories too.
Yeah. So mostly you were on the serving side of things. Did you ever bartend anywhere?
I did briefly at the Old Shillelagh downtown, and then I would occasionally bartend at the Well.
Yeah.
It was just the Wells at the time was their way of kind of helping out the service industry around them, and also it created business for them as well, bringing in the other service industry people in downtown Detroit. So,
well, I mean, we made up a lot of their business, to be fair.
100%. That outdoor area was Hard Rock shift people after they got off because nobody changed their clothes. I can't tell you how many times I left a lanyard at every bar down there. And when I worked at Hard Rock, that was the running joke that I wore like 2 pieces of flare. Like I was not a flare guy because I would lose them. So they would have to the manager at the time would have like, all right, just go grab a couple pins from the rock shop. Okay. And I'm like, okay. So.
I don't think I ever worked at a place that I had to wear flair, so to speak.
Oh, you're lucky.
Oh, I did I didn't even do the bare minimum. I did less than the bare minimum.
Yeah,
what was the minimum
was 3.
there?
The minimum was 3.
Yeah.
I think. And then they changed it to 5 at one time, I think. I don't know. There were some people who went crazy and put it all over their shirt and all over everything. And I hate it. I put it around my lanyard, and so you'd have a lanyard with a name tag, and it looked like a backstage pass. That was their cool thing at the Hard Rock, was it looked like a backstage pass, and you had the little pins. But I called it my albatross because it was heavy. It was like you'd put this albatross around your neck and walk around all night long wearing it. And you take it out, it's like, oh god, it's like 10 pounds.
Those pins were really heavy, and the pins aren't cheap. I mean, they were like
$12,
$13 a piece, depending on what it was.
Yeah, you get a discount, but they would make you buy them, and some people were into collecting them and stuff. And the the nerds that would collect the pins. They'd have like a pin breakfast Sunday, and
Oh God, I remember those.
they'd be scoping out your pins, trying to find like, oh my God, you've got this one. Let me trade you for it. Like, yeah, here you go. I had
does
some
it have,
cool
like,
ones that I liked,
Specific
but
pens, like.
oh
Well,
yeah, like
what they would do
every
is
store.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, but what they
No,
would do is
don't-
like each regional, each Hard Rock, depending on location of the country or the world, would have a themed pin for that city, and then they would release also the ones that were kind of like a limited run, like globally kind of thing. So it was very much designed for each region or each store, depending on what city and so forth. So that's how they.
Some of those pins were like really rare and like super awesome to get your hands on.
People would get crazy, but the pins were actually really, what was cool about them, and I wasn't a collector of them by any means, but they were designed pretty well, and they had cool, themes to them, and obviously being Motor City and the rock and roll history that Detroit has, they centered around that and Motown and that kind of stuff. So
the artwork was really good, and there was always like girls, there's always like little girl pins from each different one.
Right.
So it was like, hot cartoon babes kind of thing. If you're into that sort of thing, if you're a hentai sort of person, I suppose.
Do you still have your pens, or do you not take them with you, or what? I mean, if you're paying for them, I guess they're yours, right?
Oh yeah, no, I took them with me.
Lose them really quick, like I did every time.
I think I still have a lanyard somewhere with a bunch of pins. I know my son's mother still has hers collection because she had a bunch of cool ones. She would collect all the girls that looked like her with the long brown hair.
She actually did my interview.
Her thing.
Believe it or not.
There
she
you
did
go.
my interview, and then Brooks did my interview, and it was funny because Brooks was trying to be all managerial kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, all right, buddy.
Shout out to Brooksy.
Shout out to Brooks.
Hey, shout out to my ex too. My son's mother actually trained me like the first week that I worked there, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Right.
But we did have some good times. We did have some. The cool thing about working at the Hard Rock was they closed at midnight. So
I know, right?
Weekend nights, we would, if you could hurry up and do your side work and get out real quick, you could still close the bars down and maybe even stay a little later if you need the right people, kind of thing. So that was pretty cool.
Well, the fortunate thing for you and I during that time in downtown Detroit, which was 13 years ago, right?
Yeah.
That you and I both lived.
Yeah.
I had a loft right on Gratiot, and basically between like the Fox Theater and Campus Martius, which is where Hard Rock was. And you were at the Leland, and God, you always had a place to stay if you do the right. You know what I mean?
Yep. Many times did I stumble home after work from the Well and the Baltimore and the old Chalet.
Well, and speaking about that too, is that it's not the downtown Detroit that people know now. It was a much more little seedier, watch your P's and Q's kind of place down there. You know what I mean?
It definitely was, yeah. Detroit has changed in the last decade and a half, for sure.
For the better. I think.
Yeah. That point is up for discussion, debate. If any of our listeners have some thoughts on that, if you've been around for the long haul and want to chime in on whether old Detroit is better or new Detroit is better, we welcome your commentary. Amazing. You've got some birds going on out there. There was a lull there. We were just hearing birds for a second.
I know.
I'm like super distracted because like my neighbors are having a party and it's like all I can hear is them like laughing in the background. So I'm like,
oh, invite them on. Tell them to bring some booze and come hang out with Tales from the Barside.
My first stint in downtown in the service industry was actually at the old Chalet. When I moved downtown, I moved right by Eastern Market. Now, not in Eastern Market, but right across the street on Gratiot from Eastern Market. Like Russell, I think it's Russell, right?
Yeah.
And it was a guy who was working at Guitar Center at the time, and one of the guitar techs, he's lived down there for years in this loft, and quirky dude and whatever. And roommate open. I was living in Warren at the time, and I'm like, God, this is depressing. Depressing. It's like every other, street is a CVS and a whatever.
It's the burbs. They all look the same. You need some action. You need some nightlife.
I was craving for some,
yeah.
So I actually opened up a spot in his loft, and I jumped right at it, and that was just such a cool experience, because my thought of downtown Detroit was like, that's scary stuff. Go live down there. You're not even in downtown. You're like a little off the beaten path. But if it wasn't for that, I mean, I would have never met any. I wouldn't be here where I am today if it wasn't for that. You know what I mean? And the friendships and the people I've met, and just the growth that I, had in my life, just from that moment, that really trajectory, or path my way. But I'll never forget. I got down there and he showed me the bars and stuff, like the Well and Old Shillelagh and stuff. And we walk into Old Shillelagh, and this burly young guy and this other guy is behind the bar, young guy, and they're like, "Faster!" And I went, they're like, "Guitar Center!" And I was like, "Yeah!" and Paulie Brady from Stone Clover and his brother Mark, and God, it was just lifelong friendships from that encounter alone too. And so of course they're shoving Jameson down my throat and stuff, and I'm a musician, and at the time I was in a band with my guys from up in the burbs, if you will, and they were looking for a bass player because they just kicked our mutual friend out of the band, whose name is Ryan Spooner. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll play bass. I don't even own a bass, but I knew I could play it." Well, the fun thing about that is that Paulie and Mark actually lived, well, Paulie did. Paulie lived above the Old Shillelagh. There was an apartment right above there. So, and those who ever know, when you walk into the Old Shillelagh, you got the door in front of you, you got the little glass window to your left, and then there were stairs that went up to a door. And then that went up even further, and that's where they lived, and that's where they practiced the band. So I was like maybe 24, 25 years old. I'm like, this is the coolest shit ever. I can't believe I'm here right now. This is awesome. So I can actually say practiced in a band downtown and above the Old Shillelagh in Detroit. Cool.
Honestly, like our time, the time period that we lived downtown was like no other in downtown Detroit, because the culture was starting to change. The suburban kids were starting to move down there and live in cool lofts and practice in bands, and the bar scene was happening.
Right.
People were still leery of coming downtown, but you'd still come down for the sporting events. There was a thriving nightlife. There was restaurants and stuff like that. So you could go down there and make it, and you didn't need a car. You could live and walk to work and take the people mover everywhere. Lauren, you ever live above a bar before?
No, but my last job, I basically lived inside of it.
Yeah, you were there so often.
Well, fair enough.
I did. I lived above Coach's Corner over in Harmony Park.
Oh, yeah.
When it was over there. And it was cool. We were on the third floor, but like on Friday and Saturday night, they'd have a DJ, and you could hear the music, and you could hear the people, even up on the third floor. So, like when the DJ turns the music all the way down, and you can hear everybody being like, "Whoa, living on a prayer," like that got old really quick.
Was that kind of DJ, like a top 40s,
Well, just playing to the college kids. It was 2000, 2004, 2005. So like. But always that, turn it down so that all the kids can scream the lyrics to the like 30-year-old song.
Well, it's just like remember the Shillelagh, I remember this always is that they would always play Journey's
yes.
You know what I'm talking about. I don't even think I even have the name of the song. You guys know.
Born and raised in South Detroit.
That was a running joke. Like, is there a South Detroit?
No, it's Windsor.
It's
Windsor, South Dakota.
My friend Ryan said Kesha only DJs.
Yes, Kesha only.
Surprisingly enough, Kesha actually can sing, like really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like really good. So I
don't think I've ever heard her actually sing.
Like opera stuff?
No, but just
Just generally speaking, she can sing.
No, she can really sing. Yeah, I was like, is that Kesha? well, my wife was like, hey, this is Kesha. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's
Yeah,
sure
I wouldn't know.
it was. She could sing.
I'm like Sam Jackson in Pulp Fiction. I'm like, I wouldn't know because I wouldn't eat the filthy motherfucker.
My friend David said, did you mean Don't Stop Believing?
Yeah, that's exactly what we
Is
meant.
that the one? All right,
Yeah.
David, you win. You got it.
The terrible one.
I know. I've heard it. So
If I never hear that song again, it's too soon. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what's weird, Remy, is that, because we worked at Hard Rock together, a lot of people don't know this, that, we know because we were there like every day for, 3-4 years, 5 years, whatever. But they would rotate the most awful like videos and songs, like just constantly.
Yeah.
And songs you never even heard of. And they'll pepper in just a little bit of what's new, and it was always kind of pop or whatnot. But it'd be such a contrast between, I can't remember the name of the band either, but they had a song called Belly of the Whale. You remember that?
Belly of the Whale. I don't know who that is. We're going to look it up.
I got to look it up. Hold on. Give me a second. And then
I don't remember Belly of the Whale. I do remember raging against the music that got played there. I was like, this is called a hard rock. There's nothing hard and rocking about any of this.
There wasn't. There was no Pantera. You didn't have Metallica. You didn't have any bands. It wasn't even like nu metal. Like,
every once in a while, they would play some hard rock and stuff. But it was few and far between, and there was a lot of crap that I could not stand. And I'm one of those. I'm not good working in a bar that plays a lot of loud music. Like, I'm better at a small bar that's got a jukebox to where like it's a little, and my kind of people are playing the money in the jukebox. Because if it's like a corporate type place or whatever, I'm furious. Or if it's a nightclub where it's all pop top 40 kind of stuff, I'm just like, I can't just block it out. I can't just be like, oh yeah, I don't even hear it. I'm like, oh, I hate this song. It gets me in such a bad mood.
Right?
I remember a few years ago when that Justin Timberlake song came out with "Sunshine in My Pocket." Oh, dude, like it would get played like 5 times. That I got that sunshine in my pocket, and it just drove me
That's
up
Justin
the fucking wall
Timberlake?
because it's so. Yeah, it's so candy ass pop fucking bullshit. I just fucking hated that song, and it was the hit of the summer, and so it just got played over and over, and everybody would lose their mind like it was the greatest thing ever. And I was just like, "Shoot me! I hate this. Like, I can't stand it." I was in the wrong spot.
One of the coolest things about work. Oh, by the way, the name of the band was Burning Sensations. I think their only hit was "Belly of the Whale."
Yeah, they played a lot of one-hit wonders at the Hard Rock. Was the problem. And you're like, who the fuck is this?
Oh, God, right? One of the cooler aspects of working at Hard Rock, though, is, because we were in a band in downtown Detroit, and we obviously knew, we were a good band, and we, I worked there, and we knew the people that, ran the show there. We actually got to play there probably 5 or 6 times, and it was so awesome when that happened because everybody knows us from downtown. We live downtown, so we would get such a huge support out at the Hard Rock. We'd pack the place, and and the funny thing is, they would actually pay us.
Yeah,
we would get like $700, $800 and like the bar tab. I mean, they couldn't pay us like thousands of dollars, but I was just privileged to play on that stage where I just served ranch to a table the other night. So that,
it's kind of a surreal experience, I can imagine. Yeah. Well, like I did a show there one time. I threw a benefit and raised some money for charity, and my brother's band played. But I got to be the MC that night. But it was really surreal to like be on that stage on a microphone. It's like this stage, when it's not being used as a rock stage, is where tables go. So it's like you're serving customers up there. I've had people, little kids crying and spilling their chocolate milk all over the place and cleaning that up. And then, you're up there like performing.
Can I have some hot tea, sir? Like, it's July. Why do you need hot tea? I'm not bringing hot.
I don't think I've ever been to a Hard Rock. Like, any of them. Ever. Yeah.
It's funny. I had never been one until I went into the one and got the job. I had never even gone in before until I went to apply. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, this is a popular place. I guess I'll go work here. I need a job. Well, I had a couple of friends who worked there too, so I was like, hey, get me in over at the Hard Rock. That's a cool place, right? Like,
well, that was awesome. Downtown is that we had such a tight knit group between just all the bars and the people that lived down there, and like it was a tight knit group.
It really was. And a big one too. And it's like, you meet so many different people. It's like Detroit is one of those really big but really small towns where everybody knows everybody. Like Lauren, once I met you before we started doing the show, and then we became like Facebook friends, and I realized, oh my God, like you know so many people.
Yeah,
that
we
I
have
know, like,
so many mutual friends.
Right, and we had never met before. It's just
and
one
it's
of
like
those
the thing is though
little
is that we probably have, like, I've probably been to your bar, or you might have been to one of my bars, but yeah, we just didn't know each other, so it's like, okay, move on.
Lauren, where did you work? Did you ever work in downtown?
No, I didn't. I'm not gonna lie. No, I didn't. I'm actually kind of like a long-term person. So like I worked at Necto nightclub out in Ann Arbor for like 8 years.
Well, that's where I live, Ann Arbor.
Whoop whoop. Love Ann Arbor. And then and that's kind of how you guys were talking about, like it's very much so like a family there, you know, like when I worked there, even to this day, I still consider those people like close friends of mine, you know.
Oh,
and
of course.
Then from there, I worked at Grasshopper for 5 years, and then I worked at Luna and Orchid for 2 years, and now I'm at Boogie Fever, and I've been there for almost a year. So,
where's Boogie Fever at again?
It's in Ferndale. It's like a 70s, 80s, and 90s nightclub.
Right.
So it's kind of cool because I don't have to listen to like the top 40s all the time. But you know, and I love 80s music, and that's awesome. But when you hear it every fucking night, you're kind of just like, okay, I'm sick of this now.
The thing about that is you would think that like with 70s, 80s, 90s being their base, you got a lot to choose from. Like you don't have to play the same playlist all the time.
And they don't.
Mix it up.
There's some like staple songs that you hear every single night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and we talked about that a few weeks ago with Bob.
Sure.
We talked about the
if you're working at Boogie Nights, you have to. Like, I would feel like that's on like kind of a playlist somewhere. Like, Mondays,
there's going to be some
sunshine. I think
there's some overlap there of like certain things. So.
Do they ever go kind of off the beaten path and like pull up some obscure, like kind of cool stuff that you never heard?
Oh yeah, actually, the owner, like he actually DJs on Saturday night, and he used to be like a DJ for like a big club and everything back in the day, and so he pulls out some pretty old stuff and some pretty cool stuff that you're like, oh my God, I forgot that I love this song so much, you know?
That's awesome. Cool.
So it's nice. It's not too terrible, like having to hear the same stuff over and over. Like working at other nightclubs, I've definitely had to listen to the same playlist for months at a time. One of the bars I worked at, they closed the night every night, no matter what, for all of the time I worked there with the same fucking song every night. But I could always tell what time it was without looking at a watch.
It's the song cue and you're good.
Exactly. I was like, oh, they're playing Cardi B now. It must be after midnight, you know? Like
I probably would have quit. Like, I'm good. What she's saying, I don't know.
It's not so bad. You get used to it.
You know what's funny about the like that kind of obscure song that you've heard back in your childhood or whatever, and you'll hear it in the most weird places ever. Like I was in CBS with my wife Veronique, like maybe 4 months ago, and I don't know how many people remember the song, but Aretha Franklin and George Michael did a duet, and the song is called "I Knew You Were Waiting for Me." I guarantee you, everybody knows this song in their head. They just forgotten it. But CBS, right? And I hear it pop on, and I look at Veronique, and I did like a big Chris Pratt smile from Parks and Rec, like, oh my God, it's that song. So, like, I love those moments. Those are the best moments ever.
Oh yeah, like when you're just like, oh my God, I have to go on right now and add this to my playlist because I haven't heard it in so long, you know?
Yeah. And then I listen to it for the next 4 days straight. Like,
I forgot about this song.
Well, until you're sick of it, and then you're like, I never want to hear the song again.
I just play it in CVS now by myself. I bring my phone out, and I'm just like, okay, play.
Shazam. I Shazammed it. Sounds like you didn't even have to. You already knew what it was.
What's that?
I said it sounds like you didn't even have to Shazam it. You knew what it was.
Oh, I knew what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, the song literally is called "You're Waiting for Me," so like it's.
So and they probably repeat that refrain like a million times.
It's a catchy tune and super.
I mean, Aretha was golden. I mean, she made some great songs, but she made some off the beaten path ones too. So, you know, with quarantine hit and everybody was on Zoom and stuff like that, I was like, oh my God, Aretha Franklin, who's zooming who? Like, just fits with the time.
You're in there, buddy.
Oh, clever. Like, not her best work, but still pretty fun song, you know. The Pink Cadillac Days.
You have a catalog as big as Aretha's. I mean,
Yeah.
any artist is going to have, like, you know, the songs that are just like, okay, all right, we're not going to listen to that.
Yeah, this one's all right. Couple of duds and stuff like that.
Well, it's always funny with, like, bands that are really famous, you know, like, let's take Aerosmith, for example, even Metallica, and they're getting older and stuff. I think it's just natural to, you know, attach yourself to those songs that, you know, you loved from them from your youth or back in the. Whereas when they start to bring out new stuff, it just doesn't hold that candle to it. Maybe it does to the newer people that are just discovering them. But.
True.
And that's why we sound like old hipsters. And we're like, I liked them back when they were good. I liked them back before this crap.
Well, I was
sold out.
I was a huge fan of Danzig, huge fan. And when I was like 13, 14 years old, and my dad laid tile for a living, so he'd always like, I was cheap labor for him, pretty much free labor for him.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, but the caveat is that I always tortured him with my music, you know. So I'm playing him like Typo Negative, Danzig, Twisted Sister, you know, just all that awesome stuff.
Rocking out.
He'd listen to it. I give him a lot of props for that.
I was more of a Misfits than a Danzig fan. Like, I liked Danzig too, but I was really into the Misfits first. So I was kind of like, it's Danzig's new band. They're okay.
They're okay.
I was a hipster before it was cool to be a hipster, right? The most hipster thing you can say.
That is pretty hipsterish.
You know. What can I say?
Oh, yeah.
So we had some wild and crazy.
On there. Yeah, you had an epic girl going on there for a while.
The twirlers. That was good stuff. We had some wild and crazy nights together, buddy. You look at you, you're getting it there. You need a little wax in it, and you'll be fine.
I got the wax, dude. I'm not that guy. You can be that guy.
No,
I'm not.
I'm not that guy anymore. It's fine. It's all good.
I
got to go in front.
You've always been that guy, and that's why I love you.
Yes, always been that guy. We used to. So we've had some crazy times downtown, watching the sun come up, drinking our faces off until we can't drink anymore. Going on benders, just going like day after day after day after day.
I feel like it's like kind of it's happening now again in quarantine because I've just been drinking like every day. I mean, it feels my somewhere. I don't even know.
I feel like that's everyone right now. We're all just drinking every fucking day.
All right. Remy, what's one of your stories of us, you and I, downtown and our crazy antics back in the day?
God, I remember lots of poker games. Like with you, it was always about poker. Like, because that was the heyday. You had like a set of chips, and like you'd always have brand new cards. You know, it was like gonna get a poker game going, fella, and like we'll still get together, play a little poker. Like it's fun. But I remember a couple of sessions where it was just like we would play poker until 7 a.m. Like the birds are up, the sun is up, no sleep,
and
like,
I had to
exhausted.
No sleep.
Your eyes are just like burning from like just cigarettes and alcohol, and just like your body just feels all buzzy and numb. You're like shaking a little bit, you know. You're like,
we were definitely shaking.
Food. Need to eat some food, and I need to sleep for like 12 hours. I got to work in 3 hours. You know?
Oh, I actually had to go in because towards my end at Hard Rock, I worked mostly the day shift. And so I'd party with you guys, dude, and I'd have to just not sleep and go in. And then I walk in, manager, Don, he'd take one look at me and be like, "Are you hungover?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Good." Because I performed really well hungover for some reason. Or I was funny or whatever.
I think I did too. You know, was always like, if I had to work a day shift waiting tables, you know, I'd come up and it's a bunch of business people and they're trying to get a quick lunch and they're trying to get everything fast. Yeah. So as long as you do it fast, you joke around with them and stuff like, "Hey, how's everybody doing today?" And they're like, "Oh, we're great, thanks. How are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I feel like shit. I'm hungover. You know, like I'm still drunk from last night." And they terrible. They're like, "Oh, you're crazy."
I remember actually I had a couple like because a lot of the computer guys would come down and like the suits and ties and would do their stuff, and everybody was really respectful and nice. And I'll always remember this too, is that John Salley, the basketball player for the Detroit Pistons, his older brother would come in every morning and sit at the same spot at the bar, and he would drink 3 Sambucas and coffees.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
He would rap the shit. And I just thought that was, I didn't even know it was his brother until like, you know, years after doing it. I'm like, what? Okay.
It was a cool thing about the Hard Rock was meeting like semi-famous people or people who knew famous people. You'd meet like, you know, famous newscasters, some athletes, some like, you know, some local musicians, some big name musicians from out of town would come in and stuff like that.
I remember John 5 came in from, you know, obviously Marilyn Manson and White Zombie, and he came in before the show, and there was like 4 shift change. That Hard Rock was weird. It had like, there was a lull there from the lunch crowd.
Oh yeah.
Before dinner came in, and John 5 came in. John 5, obviously, you know, a Michigan native. And he came in with like 2 like groupies, right? And they just look like everything looks like bad road. But the problem with, the interesting thing about John 5 is that he doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, completely sober. I'm like, you want a beer or something? He's like, no, I'll have a tea. I'm like, fucking tea. Stop it with the hot tea. Well, the cool
you
thing
go
was
back
that
to the coffee machine,
right?
Wait for the hot water to come
the
out.
The little tin thing, and it's like,
yeah.
You need
bring them out. Bring them out the tray. Let them pick their own tea.
I hate that.
We've got like 8 kinds, 12 kinds.
And he actually, the fun thing though is that one of his guitars is actually on the wall there. You know what I mean? So it was cool to like kind of, you know, stand next to him and walk and just kind of just rap with him. Super nice guy. And one of the nicest celebrities I met there, will kind of surprise you. It was Chris Daughtry. His band was opening up for Nickelback at somewhere down there in the State Theater or Joe, whatever. And he was just sitting by himself eating there. And I'm like, hey man, what's happening? And he's like, not much, man. You know, just super, super cool guy. I'm like, how you doing? He's like, I'm good. I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'm good.
He was nervous.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, this is like American. Like, he was playing just bars and clubs, dude, and you know, tried out for American Idol, and you know, and started his career that way. And of course, you know, I don't know what station it was on that when he was on, but they tried to like give him a bunch of money to basically kind of control him. He's like, no, I'm just gonna go do my thing, and he actually was pretty successful doing it. So, but yeah, some cool. Yo-Yo Ma, the cello player.
Oh shit.
Waited on him. I didn't even know it was him until I got his credit card. I'm like, oh, yo, all right.
Did you call him Yo?
Yeah.
I mean, it's his name.
We do have a question from a viewer if you guys want to.
Absolutely.
Ryan Adams said, and hi Ryan, by the way, what's the best theme party you have ever done? Like if they turned a bar into a 90s night or a beach thing and had matching music.
Ooh. The best
one.
The best theme party if we could create one, or
well, specifically said one that you've worked, but if you could create one, I'll take that too. Sold.
That's a tough one. There was
I think I've worked at places, well, and especially the Hard Rock, that like tried to do a good theme night or something and never worked out good.
No.
Like Halloween is always kind of like you know, it's a busy night, but you know, we're gonna do a costume contest. Yay.
They never did though. My experience, there was never like any cool like theme stuff down there. I think it was just lack of ambition, or just they just didn't want to do it. I
mean, it was a themed restaurant.
What they should do is we should do a Hard Rock Cafe themed party, like. Everybody dresses up as the servers and gets their
and
flair.
You play no rock music.
And play zero rock.
Play zero rock music.
Zero rock.
All pop, all Cardi B, all like that kind of stuff.
I don't think I can last that long.
I think the best ones I ever worked were, well, at the bar I work at now, Boogie, we do a Prince party every year, and that's really fun. They like turn all the lights purple. We play only Prince music. Everyone dresses up. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you know, Necto was like the best at themes. Like we would do some crazy ones. Like we did heroes versus villains parties, and everyone would dress up in like a hero costume or a villain costume. And our halfway to Halloween parties were really fun. So I think those were probably like my favorite.
That's almost like their shtick, because like everybody gets dressed up to go to Necto, and you know.
Well, it's like on Fridays and Mondays, like Mondays is our goth night, you know, so we would do a lot of like, you know, Halloween themes, or we would do the bloodbath or the blood bash, which was just like everyone had to wear fake blood or like zombies. I know that we did a couple of them where like we were all encouraged to do costumes and stuff, and I was like Dr. Blight from Captain Planet, and you know what I mean? Like I would always choose some like off the wall character that like nobody knew who I was half the time. So that was always fun though. Like doing some kind of theme is like fun if you don't have to do it all the time. Because we've talked about that too, where I've worked at a bar where I had to wear something every week, and that was a nightmare.
Had to be something different. Lauren, did I finally remember, you know, downtown City Club, obviously.
No, yeah, City Club.
You know, Remy, when you lived at the Leland, I mean, clearly above it. But I remember great memories going down there, and the people watching was just awesome, especially for that time. I think it's a little more acceptable and not acceptable. You know what I mean? Like it was a shock factor to me for seeing it for the first time in person, being at that kind of club. But I loved it. I thought it was awesome, dude.
Like the goth couture.
Oh God, yeah.
Everything.
Super cool.
Yeah, so I fill in bartending at City Club currently. So like they'll call me in for big events.
Oh really?
And it's like equally as fun. It's everything I still remember it to be.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing is that below City Club there used to be Labyrinth, and there was like 6 inches of water, so you had to wear like your big stompy boots in order to get through there.
Kind of like Harpo's.
Right. You know, the last time I was at Harpo's, I went to go see Lords of Acid.
Oh shit! No, really.
And it was great. It was great. But I haven't been to Harpo's since then, and that was probably easily 8 years ago, at least.
Yeah, it's been years.
The last time I was at Harpo's, I played it, and I was maybe, God, I think 22. I fell off the stage.
Because of course you did.
There was only 9 people there, so it didn't matter. Like, really didn't matter at all.
If you're gonna fall off the stage somewhere, you'd rather there's thousands of people to like catch you and you know, put you back up like a rock god. I was 9 people laughing at you.
I was an amateur musician back then. I was my way. I was finding my way.
You guys weren't selling that place out.
No, it was like local band night things. Like I should have
a lot of good shows. Well,
I think
I'm a little bit older than both you guys. So my first times at City Club were way back in the day, and it was the same kind of thing. You know, it was that like industrial kind of like goth and metal all mixed up. A lot of Ministry, a lot of Skinny Puppy, a lot of music like that. A lot of like you know, dreadlocks and mohawks and leather and boots and like chains. Still kind of is, but again, so like those were my people. You know, it was like I was dressing like that, and that's why I went down there and was like, oh, cool, yeah, like my tribe. I love this stuff. So to me, it was never really so much about people watching. I get that factor and stuff. I was just like, I was trying to blend in as much as possible. Like I was trying to fucking be as outrageous as possible.
I kind of have this vision of you as the South Park goth kids, like the head goth kid. Like that's you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Whatever.
I think you might be channeling this right now. I'm just saying. You kind of got the curl out.
Yeah. My hair keeps falling in my face.
At least we're not saying that you look like the Letterkenny goth kids, although they are probably the funniest of all the goth kids.
I kind of like the Letterkenny goth kids. I don't know, are they the goth kids or the meth kids? You know.
Yeah, I was about to say they're kind of like meth heads, so that's why we wouldn't compare them to you. I don't see you doing a lot of meth.
Nope, definitely not my cup of tea. Not at all. So hey, here's some fun news. Today they just announced that the rest of the state can open back up their bars next week.
Yeah, Thursday I think.
I will not be opening up my bar.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no desire or interest to go and sit down in a restaurant. Zero.
There's a lot of people that I cannot wait. I've got friends who went to Ohio because they're already open like this past weekend. They're like, oh, it was so good to like sit down in a restaurant and have a drink. I'm like, I get that. I'm still a little like, this isn't over yet. But, we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to run out. I don't want to come out of quarantine after 3 months and then catch it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I've gone this whole time without getting it. And now, like, as soon as everything opens back up, then I go out and get it, like, the first weekend. How bad would that suck to get COVID the first weekend back open, the first time you go back out to a bar? It's going to happen to somebody. Somebody's going to go out to a bar for the first time they're open and catch it. That's just, it's scary to me. That being said, I do miss hanging out with my friends. I do miss going to bars. I do miss, how are you going to get more tales from the Barside if you don't go to any bars?
Right.
Like, creating stories.
We just forever tell the same story every week for like 4 years.
Oh, I know. I mean,
both of our listeners start getting irritated.
Guys, I got way more. I mean, if you need material,
right.
let me tell you a story right here. This is a good one. So when the Super Bowl hit in Detroit, I was bouncing at the Old Shillelagh at that time. And I'll never forget this. The place was packed, blah, blah, blah. And we had a lot of problems with people doing, drugs in the bathroom and stuff. So we'd have to go in the bathroom and just make sure that, things aren't, going crazy or whatnot. And it's a Saturday night, or I forget what night it was, but I go in there and I check the stalls, and obviously somebody's using the one stall. There was only 2 bathroom stalls in the downstairs bathroom at the Shillelagh. And I kind of, you can see underneath, and I see this guy. He's clearly squatting, like he's Indian style, sitting on the floor. Now this bar's been like going all day. Like there's clearly like piss water all over the place, right? You can't clean it up enough, right?
Right.
So I knock on the door. I'm like, "What are you doing, dude?" And he's like talking on the phone, screaming at somebody. And I'm like, "You got 3 seconds to get out of here right now, or I'm gonna kick the door in." And I'm literally about to kick this door in. And he finally opens the door, and he sits up. He's in like a 3-piece, like just a really nice suit. He's now covered in just piss water, and there's a pile of blow that's now soaked up all the juice on the toilet paper dispenser, and he's out of his mind. And his hair was so slicked back with God knows what goop, and I just went, "Buddy, you gotta go." He's
Time to go.
I know. I'm like,
yeah.
He just said, I know.
I know. Like, just shame came over him,
You're right.
Super Bowl week downtown Detroit was crazy because I lived down there. I worked at the Hard Rock. I was working double shifts, and there was parties every night because there was all these out-of-town people. There's all this out-of-town money. The Hard Rock itself brought in a bunch of servers from out of town to like help us get through it in the kitchen and stuff like that. They were all put up at
those unfinished lofts right there by the well.
They were put up at a big loft with like just a bunch of mattresses. It was like it was crazy. But the actual Super Bowl itself. So like I lived in Pittsburgh for a year, and the Steelers were in the Super Bowl in Detroit. And so it's like that was kind of my secondary team from the Lions. I was a big football fan back in the day. So, like, I had some buddies who had a big loft, and they were all Steelers fans. And so we watched the game at their place. Everybody's got jerseys and terrible towels and lots of alcohol. And for Super Bowl Sunday into Monday, and, like, I was off Super Bowl Sunday itself so I could watch the game and party. And then Queens of the Stone Age played at Hard Rock in the where the waterfall was. They like turned off the waterfall and made that a stage and just kind of roped it off. And it was a VIP only party, but it was being monitored by the security guards from Hard Rock, who I knew. So I was like, dude, that's one of my favorite bands. Like, you gotta let me see him. He's like, oh, you're good. He's like, you work here. Yeah, you totally can. So here I am. I've been up for like 36 hours, like just drunk out of my mind. And I'm just raging to Queens of the Stone Age about 3 feet from them. And like the guys in the band were weirded out. I mean, they were like, who the fuck is this guy? They're playing, but I was getting looks from them. And I remember, like, as drunk as I was, they were still giving me looks like,
what's going on with this guy at the front?
Right. Like, is this guy even supposed to be here? It's like,
who is this?
You
have your lance on? You have your flare on?
I was the only one. I was the only one really rocking out. I didn't. No. I had my Steelers stuff on. I still had like my jersey.
God, that is so funny.
Yeah. Oh, just amazing. But so I found out afterwards it was Paris Hilton's after party that they were playing. It was
she there?
I don't know. Like I was so hammered drunk.
Was
Yeah. But there was a bunch of like girls that looked like, you know, her friends. So like, I don't know, Paris Hilton wannabes or something.
I was about to say wannabes.
They were into the band, but like wanted to stay away from me. I was getting a lot of the like.
They're trying to fuck the bandmates.
Yeah,
not
like
you.
every 5 seconds I'd be like, I said this is rock. Freaking out the squares.
Another Super Bowl story, like kind of a celebrity thing, was I was running the side door and Gilbert Gottfried came in.
Oh, nice.
Oh God.
Love
Such an
Gilbert.
iconic voice, right? I mean, he's the parrot from Aladdin. Like, come on, dude. It's Gilbert Gottfried. Like 3'11", obviously, we all expect that.
Yeah, I know.
He didn't say a fucking word for the 5 minutes I was around him. Not one word. Because he knew if he said something, people would recognize his voice.
Everyone would know immediately.
Immediately.
That's a very distinct voice.
Crazy. And then Dickie Betts from the Mighty Mighty Bosstones came in. Super, super nice guy, dude. Like, totally down to earth. And Stuart Scott from ESPN came in. And at the time, the upstairs was closed for some reason. I don't know why it was, but I was running that side door. And I talked with, you know, the owners and stuff, and we said to all three of them, hey, do you guys want to go up there? It's quiet up there. You won't get bothered, that kind of thing. They're like, no, we're good. Dickie Betts like, I'm good. Gilbert Gottfried, not a fucking word.
Yep, not people.
Just didn't say a word. Because
Cool
Thumbs
silent.
it would have been awesome if he actually did like a line from Aladdin. That would have been even better.
That's the only thing you remember him from is Aladdin.
Well, I mean, it's his iconic role. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Just say Affleck one time.
All right. Yeah,
Please.
come on.
I mean, Affleck.
Why is he always a bird?
Oh God, you're right.
Only thing he can be.
He's got a very squawky voice. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's the only thing he can be. He can't even open his eyes.
He can. He's like me. I can't open my eyes.
Like every time he talks, it's like he's straining so hard.
Gilbert Gottfried is a national treasure.
He is a national treasure. You leave him alone.
You leave Gottfried alone.
No, it was pretty cool to see like all those famous people in town for the Super Bowl.
It was.
And because the Hard Rock had like, we did the best damn sports show period live from our stage, so there was like all their equipment in there, and they were interviewing famous people. So every day it was like, oh my God, there's Barry Sanders and Coach Mike Ditka, and there's Stevie Wonder, and there's like Kanye West, like just famous people after famous people are just strolling in, and then like their whole entourage, and like nobody talked to. You're not allowed to take pictures of famous people and stuff like that. And it's like, well, yeah, dude, we're the Hard Rock, like we know better, you know. Like,
well, you know what's funny? You know what's funny about that is that at that time, like the first iPhone wasn't even released yet. I don't think.
Right.
So
yeah, no.
Everybody's picture phones was like their Razor, right? Like the most grainiest 4-pixel. Like it was nuts.
Yeah, you could still go buy like a disposable Kodak camera, you know, from the CVS and take better pictures with those. Like,
right?
Can you get this process for me? I think I've got Stevie Wonder on this. Like,
I do want to I want to leave one more story with you guys. And this obviously involves Remy. But this was kind of towards the end of when I was living downtown, and at the time Remy was bartending at at Hard Rock. And they would do a comedy night every Thursday. And my buddy Brian at the time, we were hanging out downtown drinking, whatever, blah, blah. And Remy calls me, and he's like, hey, are you guys hanging out at your loft? I'm like, yeah, we're hanging out. He's like, can I come by? I want to bring somebody. I'm like, yeah, who are you bringing? He's like, it's a surprise. I was like, all right, whatever. Okay, come on over, dude. So he brings over, and here comes walking in Donnell Rollins, who is best known as Ashy Larry from the Chappelle Show. Now, Ashy Larry, he's in my loft now, right? Now, everybody should be like, oh, who's Ashley Larry? Who's Donnell Rollins? The point of this story is that it's right when Dave Chappelle turned down the $50 million to renew the Chappelle Show. And Donnell Rollins was a huge part of the Chappelle Show, along with Charlie Murphy and all those guys. So hence why he was doing a comedy, tour run kind of thing. But we actually got to sit and talk with him for like 2-3 hours about how and why Dave did what he did and how it affected the other castmates. And
nobody else knew the story. Everybody else was like, what the fuck's going on? But he had the inside scoop for him. Yeah.
Nobody knew the story at all. Nobody knew it. And he just opened up to us about it. And I felt like I was like, I got some insider information here.
Dude, we played poker till the sun came up with him.
We did. Yeah. We did.
We sat there playing poker with Donnell Rollins. He gave us his phone number and said, if you're ever in New York, like, I want you guys to look me up. You guys have been so cool and so much fun to hang out with. And sure enough, like a year later, I went to New York on a trip and I texted him and he answered and remembered exactly who I was. He's like, oh my God, Remy, you're in town.
That's
Like, how long are you here for?
Yeah.
Dude, so cool. I mean, I don't have his number anymore, but
I'm sure it's changed.
No, but you had it.
We should probably see if he wants to be on Tales from the Barside sometime. I bet you he would.
You probably should, man.
He's got some fun stories. It would be cool to have him on.
It was great. I remember him.
Hilarious guy. Absolutely one of the nicest celebrities, obviously, we've ever hung out with, because he hung out with us for like 4 or 5 hours playing poker. He was a good poker player, too, as a matter of fact.
He was. I think I beat his ass. I'm
sorry. He thinks he wins every
Calling
single
him out.
You tell yourself you win all the time, you win.
That's not true, because I've beaten you plenty of times.
Shut up, Remy. Don't say that.
Plenty of times. All in good fun.
I remember what he said, though, and I'll never forget this, is that, we asked him about the Chappelle thing, and he said, God, Dave just screwed us all in the pooch, and he, like, financially, he really did, and obviously because they would have made a bunch of money doing that too. And obviously Dave had his reasons for doing so. I totally get it, but it's a story I will always remember, and especially with you, my friend, because we were there together through that. So
hanging out with somebody famous and just being real with them, and like, you're just a real person like me, and like, you're trying to make your money. You're not the star of the show, but you're one of the stars on the show, and you're obviously a funny comedian. And it was like, you had this great meal ticket going, like, like, we're going places, we're doing stuff, and we're in another season, and then all of a sudden, like, the rug gets pulled out from under you because the star decides he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
You kind of you just got to grin and bear it. Yeah, you just got to go out and do the weird hard rock.
Have you ever done anything like embarrassing around a celebrity?
Yeah, I have. This is downtown. So my wife used to work for a company called Corner Productions. They did a lot of the logistics for like the boat shows that were the race boat shows that were in Detroit, along the Detroit River. I don't know if they still do them. I think they still do. But back,
they're like jet boats.
Yeah, the jet boat stuff. So they would hold, and Veronique would work those parties with, being part of that team. And so they would always have like a VIP party kind of thing for the staff, like on like the last night. And usually I would think celebrities were there. What do I know? I'm not a celebrity. Apparently I was talking to one for 20 minutes, didn't even know I was. So I'm sitting there, this guy's cool as hell, man. I'm like, God, you're awesome. We're talking music and guitars. And I said, I used to work for Guitar Center, and we're just shooting this shit, man. We're like a big crowd of people right like on the river. And Veronique comes over to me. She's like, hey, can I borrow you for a second? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, hey, dude, I'll be right back. I didn't even catch the guy's name. And she's like, you know who you're talking to, right? I'm like, oh, I didn't get his name. She's like, this is Darren McCarty. Well, he was missing teeth, and then it all clicked together.
It all clicked. Well, you're not a sports guy, so that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I know who he was, but I didn't know the name of his face. Plus, I was wasted, so add that to the, punch bowl.
I've hung out with him too. I think most people in Detroit have met or hung out with Darren McCarty at one point or another, because he's a very outgoing kind of personality, and he is a super nice guy. Like, very friendly, very welcoming to his fans, very like down to earth and shoot the shit kind of guy. Like he'll tell stories with you for sure.
I actually have one more little embarrassing story for the celebrity, not me. I was working at Guitar Center, and it was right when the White Stripes got really big. And I was in the Roseville store, and in comes Jack White, right? And obviously we know who he is and stuff. And comes to the accessories table where I was at. And he needs some knickknacks and stuff. And I'm like, what's going on, man? It's like, oh, yeah, we just got off a tour, man. This is crazy. It's nuts. I'm like, where are you heading off to next? He's like, oh, we're going to open up for the Stones at the Garden. I'm like, fuck, that's fucking pretty amazing, dude. It's pretty amazing. And super nice guy. Stunk to high heaven. Jesus Christ, did he stink. Most rock stars, if they're touring and you're not like a bazillionaire yet, and you're just famous, you're going to stink. Right?
Right.
So I knew he was kind of like an old school kind of, likes the quirky stuff from back in like the 60s and that kind of crap. And they just came out with this new pedal, whatever, where for those who are amp owners, if you ever had an amp that had a spring reverb in it, if the amp's on and you like kind of jolt the amp or you move it or drop it a little heavy, it makes this like, it's like this like thunderous reverb spring. Like, it's not pleasant. So this company made a pedal that like basically digitally
emulated.
I'm like, dude, you got to see this real quick. So I plug it in. He's like, I'll take it. I'm like, sweet. So he whips out this giant book of White Stripe checks. It was this thick, dude. I know who does checks anymore, but this was, 2002, whatever. Well, back then we need a license so we can put your license on it and all that stuff. I'm like, Jack, I need a license. He's like, I don't have one, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, then I can't take a check.
Like, it's Jack White from the White Stripes.
I know. I'm like, is there anybody else you can get the check? Have you ever seen Adventures of Babysitting?
I would have definitely grabbed a manager. We got to wrap up, but I would have definitely grabbed a manager and been like, it's Jack White.
We figured it out.
Yeah. He doesn't have a credit card on him. He wants to do a check. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks.
It's been a fun trip down memory lane. And, almost like whenever we get together and hang out and shoot the shit, tell old stories.
100%, dude. Thanks, guys.
One of my best friends.
Yeah,
one of my best friends in life, like forever, and one that will always be one of my best friends for life, forever.
Thanks to all of our viewers that watched and commented as well. And then also, per usual, if you have a story you want to share with us that we can read out loud on the air, then please send them in to barsidetales@gmail.com.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we love you. Stay safe out there.
Bye, guys.
We will
Bye.
see you next week.